What is going on, everybody? Before we dive in, as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content and like the video. So what we are going to cover today, I'm just going to go over important traits to look for. In my opinion, this game is very trait oriented, so you want to make sure that the players you use have key traits at certain positions. So the positions that I'm going to cover in this video, I'm going to go over quarterback, I'm going to go over running back. I'm going to go over wide receiver, so I will also cover tight end. And then from there, we will cover defensive line, and then secondary position, so cornerback, free safety, and then as well as middle linebacker spots here also. So we're pretty much covering everything here in the game aside from offensive line. Offensive line, they only really have high motor trait or penalty, so that doesn't really matter 100%. But for example, linebackers here, you're going to want different traits at different spots depending on what role you have your linebacker in. But we'll obviously dive into that further. Let's get into it. To begin, before we go ahead and cover exactly which traits are important per position, I'm going to show you how to check the traits. So what you want to do, you want to go to CFB.fan, in my opinion, the best site out there for college football. So basically what you need to do, you just go ahead and click on players at the top, and then you can definitely sort by position here at the bottom. You see I can do quarterback if I wanted, and then from there you go ahead and click on the player that you want to check the traits on, and on the right side here, it lists the traits that they have. To begin, we're going to break down important traits for quarterback. There are 3 traits that are important in my opinion. 1 is the clutch trait, 2 is sense pressure, and 3 is throws tight spiral. Now, in my opinion, the most important trait is clutch, just because it plays a huge factor in big downs. So like a 4th down, for example, more than likely not to be affected by pressure because they have the clutch trait, so they should hopefully be able to throw the ball on the money more often than not. Now, also with the sense pressure trait, I don't think this one is as important as people say or stress. The most common example is Jackson Dart or Cam Newton. I believe they both have the paranoid trait, and they have been used by a lot of people for a good stretch of time in this game. So with throws a tight spiral trait, it basically affects the velocity of the ball. If they don't have this trait, basically the balls won't get where they need to go as fast. So it just makes it a little bit more likely for like a cornerback or a safety to jump the ball and make a play. So if you add these traits together, the throws tight spiral, sense pressure, and clutch, if you focus on these traits, you're sure to have a dominant quarterback. Next up, we are going to break down the best traits to have on running backs, in my opinion. These traits are going to be covers the ball, fights for extra yards, and high motor. So example here, we have a running back that has brace against big hitters. The 2 best options here are brace against all hits and brace against big hitters. Basically what this is going to do, it's a less likelier chance to fumble versus the type or style of hitter. So if it's like a medium hitter, anybody that is rated or has like a trait above that is more likely to make the running back or person fumble. So that's why we like to have covers the ball, having big hitters or all hits that they brace against. Now, fight for extra yards is basically exactly what it sounds like. They're going to be more likely to like fall forward, break a tackle, etc. So that is a huge part for a running back because, I mean, especially if you playing conservative, they're going to be more likely to fall forward, which can help you pick up a few extra yards. Now, high motor, what this pertains to is going to be stamina. So your players are going to be a little bit less likely to drain stamina during or throughout the game. So as it gets later in the game, they're going to have more stamina, so they should usually be able to make more plays. So if you put these 3 pieces together, you want to look for at least 2 out of the 3, in my opinion. Most important are covers the ball if you don't play on conservative, and then as well as fight for extra yards. So if you use 2 or 3 of these abilities on the running back that you buy in cut, you will be successful. Last up for the offense, we're going to cover wide receivers and tight ends. So this is the traits or options that they are going to have. It's going to be a little bit more dependent on their role. So to begin, things that you're going to want to make sure: drops open passes. If it is a yes, I personally do not use them because they're going to drop the ball in key situations and it could ruin a drive. Now, so you want to make sure to have no there. Also, I'd like to have where on the bottom it has possession catches, rack catches, sideline catches. Depending on your offense, I like in my offenses I attack the sidelines a lot, so I like to make sure my wide receivers have a sideline catches on. So that is a super important trait for me. Now that I'm not playing conservative every game, I like to make sure that I have the covers the ball as well. So I want that to be as high as I can on the player. Now, if you're big into like aggressive catching or you like to like lob the ball and try to make a play downfield, aggressive catch trait could be huge for you as well. Personally, I don't play like that, so it's not key for my wide receiver or tight end to have, but it could definitely be beneficial. So again, just to reiterate, the things you want to focus on for wide receivers or tight ends in a passing offense especially is going to be one, drops open passes, and then two, if you look at the bottom, you want as many of those catch traits as possible: possession, rack, sideline, and even aggressive on the top. I want as many of those as you can have. Most importantly, something that would work well in your offense. So like I stated, sideline catches for me is a must have. Next up here, we are going to cover the defensive line. Now, there's a few things you want to focus on. That is one, going to be high motor, which we obviously covered why we like that trait earlier in the video. Second is going to be to see if their pass rush trait matches basically what their highest overall in for either finesse or power move. So basically, swim and spin move is going to want a more higher stat in finesse move, and then bull rush you're going to want to have a higher stat in power move. Now, this card here specifically has that trait in both, so it doesn't really matter what this person's stat is going to be because he's going to be good at either or. So if you go ahead and then combo the high motor trait with the pass rush type, so either the swim, spin, or bull rush, so as long as that matches like the rating on the card, you should have a very good defensive lineman. So we have two more positions to cover. That's going to be linebackers and then cornerbacks and safeties. So starting with linebackers here, you're going to look for a few things depending on if you're using the linebacker as a pass rusher or if you're going to use them in coverage. So if you're looking at the traits here, some of the important things to look at is one, the linebacker style. It's basically going to tell you where you should be playing this linebacker. If he has like a pass rush one, you're definitely not going to want to use him as a coverage linebacker because he's more than likely going to have lower stats in those categories. However, sometimes they can be used as a user depending on like how you change the direction and speed. But besides that, you want to focus on one, I like big hitter trait, especially on your user or if this linebacker is going to be in coverage, because if you're throwing at the zone, there is a good chance that you can cause a fumble if you have the big hitter trait on that defender. So looking down, I also like to have, if they have plays ball in air, if they're in like a coverage linebacker, you want to have at least a balanced on that. The other trait is going to be aggressive. That's basically the best option there. And then aside from that, that's mainly the couple things that I personally look for in coverage linebackers or users. For pass rushers, it's going to be similar to defensive line, where you're going to want to have high motor and then pair that with either the bull rush, spin, or swim move trait. And you want to make sure that the swim or spin move trait, if they have that active, is their highest rated pass rush stat. So you're going to want to have it be finesse move. And then if they have bull rush move activated, so if they have that as a yes, you want to make sure that their higher pass rush ability or pass rush stat is in power move. Last up here, we're going to go ahead and cover secondary. First, we're going to touch on cornerbacks. Two things that I look for. First is clutch, and then second is plays the ball in air. So for clutch, basically, it is what it sounds like. they're obviously going to make plays in clutch situations. And then plays ball in air, you want it at least balanced. I prefer aggressive just because they're going to make more plays when the ball is in the air. And that's obviously what you need your cornerbacks to do. So for safeties, it can differ a little bit, mainly because one, some people run cover zero defenses, so they may either put cornerbacks there or need man coverage safeties. So you're going to want to also look at things like plays ball in air and like clutch trait. But for the most part, what I look for in safeties is either clutch or big hitter trait. Big hitter trait is huge, especially for zone users. So that about covers it for the important traits in College Football 25. If you guys have any questions, make sure to comment below. We'll see you next time.